Hey all, welcome to the long game. We're on a mission to demystify the science that shapes our lives and to unpack how great ideas built here in Scotland become real world medicines, devices, and new companies at the cutting edge of life sciences.
And Ross, because we share a passion for golf as well as science, we know progress is a game of patience. So no hype, just the long game.
Well, hey everybody, I'm Ross Cagan, Regis Professor of Precision Medicine at the University of Glasgow. Lovely to see you, Sandy.
Yeah, it's lovely to see you as well, Ross. I'm Sandy Weir, joining you from the corporate side, not the dark side, the corporate side here in Edinburgh. And I see you're back in your office again, Ross, and I can see your lovely, healthy set of plants
I
behind you. You're
am.
putting us all to shame.
Yeah, yes, it's hard to compete with these plants. It is true. But no, I'm always very proud of them. And I see you are at home, yep, with your
Yeah, and I'm
fabulous
back in my
light.
home office.
Hey, you don't have your light lit up, the live.
Oh, no, I forgot to do that. That's a miss on my part. I'm sorry
Yeah,
about
well,
that.
people can obsess over that.
We need to get you one of these. I'm gonna sort that
Oh,
out for you at some point.
oh, absolutely. Oh my, if you did that, that would be epic. Hey, listen, listen, last week we talked about how we die. All right. So that's a wee bit depressing. I'd rather talk about the plants. Um, but it is important. Today, we're going to flip things. We're going to talk about the machine that's trying to stop all of this dying, or at least slow it down. We're talking about the Scottish life sciences ecosystem. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And it's a sector that the Scottish government really has just bet the farm on. In November 25, they published the 2035 vision. So that's recently, just the end of last year. And that's targeting a turnover of 25 billion from life sciences in Scotland. To put that in perspective, that's triple where we were just a few years ago. And for context, as of today, we're sitting with a sector that's worth approximately 10.5 billion and supporting 46,000 jobs. Ross, we love the ambition here, right? And the
Yeah.
signs are really positive because back in 2017, the strategy was similarly ambitious. The goals were similarly ambitious to grow the sector by 8 billion. And that was achieved 4 years early. So signs are good, right?
Yeah, it is pretty ambitious. And as we talked about in a previous podcast, I am so impressed by the fact that everybody's pulling in one direction. I know this sounds like rah rah, but actually, it's a fact that you and I have seen quite a bit. Um, as an American here, of course, I'm always looking for narratives because we like to tell narratives. And the way I like to point to Scotland is that we're sort of in the Goldilocks zone. It's small enough that I can pick up the phone and call, the chief medical officer, who's Sir Gregor Smith, incidentally. But it is big enough to have world-class data, world-class universities, as you and I well know. It's kind of in that sweet spot.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have Gregor on speed dial.
Oh,
but
he's bugging me right now. Jeez, I had to turn him off.
but being nice and small, of course, Ross, that doesn't necessarily scale in the business sense. And today, I think together we're going to try and map out exactly where our innovation is happening in Scotland. So from Chemi Farm in Glasgow to the BioHub in Aberdeen. And we're going to ask ourselves, where is that cash that's going to come from to really fund that ambition that we're sketching out?
Yeah, definitely. So it's this time, Sandy. Put down your sausage roll and let's do a tour of the nation. um, I do like sausage rolls. I just have to say they're really bad for me. And we just talked about how you die.
I
So
know.
bad. So so instead let's think about the map. So in most countries, such as my beloved America, biotech is pretty scattered. In that case, across coasts, right? In Scotland, it's really a corridor. It has three distinct personalities that are pretty well connected.
Yeah, and I think we're going to start with your side of the turf, right, Ross? You're gonna sketch out a little bit about what's happening in the West Coast and your side of the corridor.
Yeah, sure. So Glasgow is the deep tech and the Precision Medicine Hub, being Regis Professor of Precision Medicine. I like to hang out here. We are sitting in the Clinical Innovation Zone. This is a really interesting zone that attracts and is built to attract companies. It's in Govan. All of this is right next to the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital. You know, Royal We dropped a bridge across there into the Health Innovation Hub. What's brilliant about all of this is that you can literally walk from the university across to the Clinical Innovation Zone in Govan. You can walk over to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. And so as we're trying to build, bench to bedside and back, it's just physically able to do it. It's something I'm really not used to. So it's really very unique where not only do you have all of these pieces, but what I was really impressed is industry like your company
Mm.
sits actually inside a hospital campus. I mean, who does this? I have to say, with all of this, my favorite story from this past year was Chemify.
Yeah, and that's Lee Cronin's outfit, and I'm super excited. I think we're going to have, or at least we're going to try and have Lee on the podcast at some point.
Yeah, I think we will. Um, so Lee, who's actually a friend of mine and a close collaborator, Lee is Regis Professor of Chemistry here at Glasgow. So they seem to make us a dime a dozen. He didn't just spin out a company because we do have plenty of those. He has a 21,000 square foot chemi farm in Maryhill. And if you've never heard of the term computer, you should look it up. It is absolutely amazing. And it's actually one of the things that attracted me here to Glasgow. He is literally digitizing chemistry. He uses robots and AIs to, in effect, automate or print drugs or compounds. It's a great example, I think, of Glasgow. It's gritty, it's industrial, but at the same time, it's smart, it's very high tech. No disrespect to Edinburgh, but very smart as usual in Glasgow. So I should say that, as I mentioned, Lee and I and my teams, we've actually teamed up. We're using his computer technology, our drug development technologies. We've put them together to create what is essentially drug development in a box. So as you can tell, I love this technology.
Yeah, and quite right too. And I'm super keen to learn much more about it. Then if we kind of flip over to my side of the corridor, if you come around about 45 miles east, you arrive in Edinburgh, which is in these parts at least considered to be the bio capital. You've got investments like the Edinburgh Bioquarter, which is huge, right? It's
Yeah.
but it's a little bit different. The flavor is a little bit different there. It's more about software biology. It's institutes like the Rosalind Technologies. You know, that's the legacy of Dolly the sheep. And by the way, they're now finalists in the 2026 Life Sciences Awards. But interestingly, it's cultivated meat in this case, and they're actually growing fat cells in the lab, so we don't have to slaughter pigs.
Wait. So we're basically talking bacon rolls from space?
Yeah, that reminds me of the Muppets. Pigs in space. I don't know. You probably have to be a certain vintage. If you're not familiar, go look it up.
Yeah, I don't know how Miss Piggy would feel about that.
Exactly. And you know, Ross, we mustn't get sucked into this idea of this corridor, because you really
Yeah.
got to think about the north, what's happening in Dundee, but what's happening also in Aberdeen. And Aberdeen in particular, they're really pulling off something quite incredible at the moment. With the oil industry winding down, they're really pivoting quite hard. And there's the one biohub, that's Opportunity Northeast. It's fully operational now. Deborah O'Neill, she's the CEO of Nova Biotics. She's really leading the charge there. They're taking all of that transferable knowledge of running complex, high-value projects, the discipline that requires from the oil and gas sector, and they're applying it to biotech.
Yeah, I was processing that as you were talking about it, and it's really It's an aspect of, I think, the most successful regions where they are able to pivot. Coming out of New
Mm.
York, things always sort of go up and then down, and you think, oh, now they're in trouble, but they always manage to pivot. And I would say that's something that Scotland and the Scottish cities have really managed to do, which, as I said, I'm pretty impressed. I know that there are organizing principles that go across all these things. So
Mm.
when I first came here, was honestly the first time I'd heard the phrase of the triple helix, where you put together academia, you put together the NHS plus industry. You could say quadruple helix if you want to add the community to that. But I
Mhm.
hear this phrase all the time. And I know that it is, in fact, an organizing principle along all these cities that we've been talking about. Um, but of course, having amazing labs in Maryhill or beautiful scenes in Aberdeen or so on, that's not going to matter if these companies aren't successful if you can't pay the electric bill.
Yeah, you're so right. And this is where I guess the rubber really hits the road. You can have the best science in the world, Ross, but without capital, it stays in the lab, or maybe in your case, it stays in the test tube, right? The landscape in
Maybe.
2026 is has really changed, and particularly when we look at the funding for spin outs from universities, etc. That was heavily based on a grant funded model, but now we're seeing the maturation of the Scottish National Investment Bank, and that's really quite exciting.
Yeah, I actually like this. So this is basically the patient capital concept. Yeah.
Exactly. It's kind of well understood now that due to the complexity of products in our industry, there's that high regulatory bar. Med tech, biotech. It takes around 10 years to convert those kind of first ideas and growing that business into product and profit. And VCs, of course, they're not patient guys. They want their money back in five
Yeah.
years. Actually, some want their money back in 3 years.
Uh,
And it's really the hope that the Scottish National Investment Bank can start to help to bridge that gap. They've already poured millions into companies like Enterobiotics, that's the gut microbiome company. And then in this space, we also have the angels, and they're typically the sort of high net worth individuals who invest their own money in the business, uh, typically at early stage in exchange for equity. And I think these guys, the advantage of these guys is they don't really just provide the finance, they're also providing the mentoring, the strategic guidance. And these are the things that can really significantly help to grow the business. So I think in this sense, don't just think of them as the money men, think of it more as the sort of Dragon's Den or the Shark Tank model, and you start to get the idea.
mhm.
And in Edinburgh, we have the Archangels, and that's a really interesting angel investment group. They were established in 1992, and they're pretty much considered to be the oldest angel investment syndicate in the world. And they've already invested £41 million in 2025 alone, and that's private money betting on Scottish science.
Yeah, well, and that this, of course, is something that Scotland has to continue to build upward to invest in themselves and to engage other private investors. But I have to say, little Goss, there's been a little shakeup at the top. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, big time. And Mark Logan, who we've both met
Hmm.
and know about the way he was working. He was the tech czar, really experienced guy, bringing a lot of passion and a lot of energy to this area. Unfortunately, he stepped back. He resigned as chief entrepreneur. And then as of January 2026, we now have Anna Stewart in that role. And I guess this is quite significant because Anna wrote the Pathways report, as we both know, Ross.
Yeah.
And she's one of the things she's really laser focused on inclusive entrepreneurship. She knows that one of the challenges that we face right now is that we're missing out typically on that 50% of the talent pool because women that are coming forward with the ideas and the passion to start their own business, they're just not getting funded.
Yeah. Well, I see this gender imbalance in biotech every day.
Mm.
Very frustrating, but of course, there are brilliant women. already in biotech, and we've already got some signed up to come onto our podcast. Um, so we do have amazing women here in Scotland, but unfortunately, we are going to have to, if we're going to optimize the talent and brilliance that we have here, this is something we're really going to have to dig much deeper in. We have to create an environment where women feel welcomed and feel comfortable about, because it's very stressful to start companies and so on. But I can tell you, I've learned a lot from some of the women bio entrepreneurs here. In fact, some of them I would consider to be my mentors. So having talked about this, Sandy, what do you think about the tech angle of all this?
Yeah, no, for sure. I want to see much more support for our bio entrepreneurs, and I want to see much more encouragement. And I'm really interested to learn more, particularly about the experience of that gender imbalance and the things that we can do to help improve that situation. But I'm going to step back a little bit, Ross, and you'll have to ask if your indulgence here as I go on a sort of little bit of a mini tour de force around things in the kind of Scottish landscape.
Oh yeah, go for it.
So AI Scotland launches this year, and we're all super excited about that. And we can see the strategy around AI is shifting, and it's become so important. It's going to be so important in so many different parts of our lives, but particularly I think in our industry, and rightly so. So whether it's pharma or med tech, it's really starting to become much less about the medicines and the tech itself. And as we seek to apply AI, it's become much more about how we achieve safe and secure access to the data that drives that. So companies like my own, Can Medical, we're not just about selling imaging modality, that's the CT scanners, MR scanners, etc. We're also about selling solutions around the clinical pathways that those modalities support. So from first image request and that into the sort of diagnostics and then the final reporting, each part in that pathway, it can be supported by multiple AIs, and they support the patient's journey and make those diagnostics as accurate and as efficient as possible. They also support, of course, the clinician's journey and making them as productive and efficient as possible as well. And we really want to protect those guys. We can see a lot
Sure.
of burnout in the industry, and we want to provide the technology that improves that. So all of this requires data, lots of data, what we call data at scale. But really kind of importantly, we have to think about what we're doing in terms of the models that we're training, and we have to ensure there's good data diversity, and we need that to make sure that the models we're producing are safe, equitable, generalizable across patient populations, preventing things like our algorithmic bias, and ensuring we've got high performance on real world cases. So, and I know you totally appreciate and you understand all this, Ross. But for the purposes of sharing in the podcast, when you want to make solutions for a global market, that means your AI needs to work not just on a CT image from a scanner in Glasgow, but on a scanner in New York or in Tokyo or in Delhi. And so in Scotland, we've got a lot of advantages that we can bring to this set of challenges. We've got this vibrant life sciences ecosystem that we're talking about, and we're very passionate about. We've got key centers of clinical excellence and all of our major hospitals. We've got what we talked about in the last podcast very briefly, that community health index, the KI number, our unique patient ID. We've got things like national packs, our safe haven networks, and we can use those to manage access to patient data for research. And these are to name just a few. We've got a fantastic set of assets in Scotland. However, we've also got a number of challenges, and our patient populations in Glasgow are not so diverse in the demographic sense, certainly on a global scale. And we need to maintain really good investment in our hospital systems and our people and our infrastructure to protect the value of our healthcare model, our healthcare systems. So don't get me wrong. I think, there are many challenges, and we want to be able to apply things like AI to help us to develop these solutions and really provide high performance solutions. I guess we could also think about the requirement for the data centers that we need to be able to support the high performance compute, the amount of power those centers use, etc. So, when we're thinking about the opportunity and nurturing and starting new companies, although we're very, very good at that, we're good at getting them off the ground. We're not so good at scaling them. And maybe some of those aspects that I've just mentioned are related to our ability to scale. Um, but and coming back to what we started with, which is really that vision around creating that 25 billion life sciences sector by 2035, these are lots of the types of issues and the types of challenges that we're going to have to find ingenious ways of addressing and overcoming. And I'm confident that we've got the intellectual capacity to really apply ourselves in this space. But here's the other thing, Ross, and forgive me for raising this, but even when we start to create and nurture these companies, there's also the challenge about how we stop some of our best companies from being bought by Americans the moment they get successful.
Yeah. That is a challenge. That's a lot to unpack. So let me
It's
just
a
take a
lot to
moment.
unpack. So
Yeah.
yeah, maybe take a second
It's a
or two.
good rant. It's a good rant.
Sorry,
Say Miss
it's
Piggy
my
bacon
first.
roll full
It's my,
rant.
yeah, it's my sausage roll fueled rant this morning.
Well, it sounds more professional here than when you had this rant on the golf course, I have to say. Um, so a couple things. One, AI is its own interesting topic, and we should probably do one because among all the other issues, privacy, all of this stuff, hallucinations, which is still something that I think that has not really been dealt with. Probably the biggest challenge that AI poses to bioentrepreneurship and all that stuff is that you mentioned that investors want to get their money back in 3 years, 5 years. You invest in somebody who's just put together something using AI, you get your money back in 6 months, right? And that's hard to compete with. And I know there's been a lot of money that has come out of the biotech sector because it has gone into the AI sector because of that speed. So this is a challenge that I think probably Holyrood and others are going to have to think a lot about. So that's one thing. And like I said, we should absolutely do a thing on AI. I think that would be amazing. But to your point about Americans sucking up companies and so on, always picking on Americans. It's always about
Sorry
Americans and
about that.
all the bad stuff they're doing. So let me turn this around a little bit. I don't know why I'm getting defensive. I think of myself now as more Scottish, but I'm going to put on my American hat. I'm going to have at this a little bit, which is I've talked to VCs about this issue. Okay. And what they said and what they love, but they don't love about, let's say UK in general, is that if I'm in the US and I start a company, my goal is to rule the world, right? So, get out of the way, GSK, because when my little biotech is done, you're going to be, I'm going to buy you. Okay. So that's the attitude of Americans, which is, I've got a vision. I'm going to stick that landing all the way through. And actually to the point where it can be a problem, right? Because sometimes you have to make business decisions to pivot and so on. But anyway, ambitious and driven. And with the idea that if it fails, no big deal, I'll just do another one. But in the UK, according to my VC colleagues, it's not like that. So you start a company, somebody offers you 300,000 for it. You're like, I'm out. And so they don't want to invest in that company because it's not worth their time. You're not really changing the world. You're not moving the needle. Now, of course, this is not true of all the companies, but as a culture, it's important that we encourage risk taking. And that's not always baked into the culture here. So that's something that we should all be aware of. And so if you want to create a Scottish unicorn and keep it in Scotland, I would say the first step is to make sure that people have the guts to go for it and really think big. And then people who share your vision will be happy to back it up. What do you think?
Yeah, no, that's so true. There's a lot of good sense and good observation there, Ross. And this is essentially the 25 billion question.
Yeah.
I guess one of the things I hear a lot in other conversations, different topics, is that you can't be what you can't see. And I guess that's our challenge. And of course, the unicorn is our national heraldic symbol, right?
That is so amazing. I love that. I absolutely love that.
But what's great, Ross, is this is our second big episode, and we're starting to paint out the landscape. We're starting to fill those colors in, and I hope we're just going to continue in this vein, and we're going to get that point where we can see a clear picture and match that vision right up to it.
Yeah, no, totally. For me, this is a way for me to formally learn from you, and also get a chance to hang out with you more often, which is great. And I hope other people find this helpful as well. So I think I would say, okay, so it's time to sum up what we've been talking about today. So the pieces are here in Scotland. There are smart people who have thought about this, who care about this. We have research. We have elite research, some of the best in the world. It's the reason I came here, leaving my beloved New York, because the level of cancer research, for example, is better here. It's really amazing. So we have all of the different pieces. Now it's the execution that is going to be the challenge next, right? Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. There is nothing that in our way that we can't overcome. We have, and hopefully that's part of what I was trying to say in my little mini rant is there are so many great assets that we can bring to bear in this space, and it's really about applying the ingenuity to solve the challenges that I kind of mentioned. And yeah, there are always going to be challenges, and that's where the value is, right? When you can bring a solution that that provides an answer in that space, then that's what has value. That's what people want to invest in. That's where success comes from. So absolutely right, Ross.
Yeah, totally. And just to put a pin in this, and then we'll move to our last segment. This is why you and I really have started this podcast and really have wanted to start this podcast.
Yeah.
Because I think you share this with me. For me, Scotland has been amazing to me. Regis Professor of Precision Medicine. They have supported the things I do. I very much want to give back. This is that. Now you're seeing the podcast that's part of those efforts to give back. And I know you feel the same, Sandy.
Yeah, that's a great message. And that's probably a great point to bring ourselves around to our wee
Yep.
bit of
Yep.
happiness, right?
So you know what time it is.
I'll let you lead on this part.
You can bring back your sausage rolls, the rant. See, so with your rant, you can bring back the sausage rolls because it's the section, a wee bit of joy. All right, Sandy, tell me what's making you happy this week.
Do you know, Ross? I'm going to keep things. I'm going to keep things really simple this week. I've really noticed there's been a change in the air this week. I've started to feel slightly warmer as I walked out of my house today, and I've got a small path down to my home office in the garden. I'm really aware of the buds starting to appear. I've got this cherry tree. It sounded like I've got this amazing garden, by the way. It needs a bit of work,
wow,
I have to tell you. It's this time of year. It can look quite good in the summer, but it needs a bit of work. But anyway, I passed beneath this cherry tree, and I've really started to notice that spring seems to be in the air. I don't know, is it too early to declare that spring's on the way? I'm not sure.
I'm totally in.
Anyway, I'm hoping it stays good for the next few days because I've got a wee bit of a trip planned.
Right.
I'm going with some buddies, my wife and I. We're going with some friends over to the Isle of Bute. And for those that are not familiar, the Isle of Bute's a little island that's in the kind of western approaches of the Firth of Clyde. And it's great. We're taking our golf clubs, Ross. I'll have something to talk about and report back on in terms of fueling the golf part of our passion in our next episode. So I look forward to sharing that with you.
Send pics. I want to see it. And even if they're not true, bring some golf stories back.
But what about you, Ross? What's been exciting you in terms of this wee bit of joy this week?
So I'm definitely also feeling spring, something nice. So if this doesn't last, I don't care. So crocuses, the whole thing. I'm totally with you. And you're going to like this because now I'm going to do a little shout out to Edinburgh, which,
great.
we're supposed to have this competition somehow. I guess as an American, to me, everything's a competition. So my wife, Yumi, also scientist, and I took last Saturday off. We went for a walk in Edinburgh, and we were looking at some of the street art, which is what we're into, and we sort of followed it around into this little cove, and there was this person standing there, basically watching us looking at the art, and said, "Hey, what you doing?" So we turned around, and he was standing under this sign that said Scottish Mineral and Lapidary Club. So, are you part of the Scottish Mineral and Lapidary Club? And
I'm sorry to say
what
not.
is lapidary? So it turns out, first of all, it is at least the UK's oldest lapidary club. Okay. So what lapidary is, and it used to be a big deal in Scotland in particular, is a particular way of cutting and polishing stones. And I have to say, sometimes you just have these magic moments. So the gentleman was really lovely. He said, "Hey, we're not open or anything. It's not that kind of club, but would you like a tour?" So we, of course, said that would be amazing. And they had these beautiful gems in there that they themselves had cut. They don't sell them because it's a private club. But there was a woman who was working on this multifaceted stone that she had picked up from Scotland and was now polishing it. Really beautiful. I think it was a beryl or something. And she was showing me how it works as she loads it down in the spinning disc, grinds it down into flat faces, and she sets the different angles. And the gentleman, they were all elderly. His expertise was setting them into these gold settings and so on. So it was amazing. They had this insane stone collection from around Scotland that he obviously took great pride in. And I'll just read you one thing from their website, and then I'm going to stop. And that is their purpose is reviving a tradition. During the 19th century, Edinburgh was a thriving center of the lapidary and jewelry trades, turning out high quality, what's called pebble jewelry. Apparently this was a thing, from a ready supply of Scottish pebbles or agates, jaspers, and cairngorm stones. So it was just so cool. Sometimes it's really great to meet people who are just super passionate about what they do, and they're willing to take a moment to show it to you. So that's what made me happy this past week.
Wow, that sounds so interesting. I didn't know this club existed.
Yeah. I would definitely recommend look up their website, the Scottish Mineral and Lapidary Club. I loved it. Anyway, I could go on, but I won't. So that's it for this week. Next time we're going to get a little more technical. I made a promise that I would do a science explainer. This will be the first one, which is on cancer, which I know a little bit about. So, and also we're going to be getting ready for some amazing guests. So whether a newbie to cancer and don't know much about it, or you're a science researcher, hopefully we'll come up with some surprises for you. And of course, connect it to what's going on in the larger scene here. So, Sandy, I hope you can make it.
That sounds great. I'm so looking forward to learning a lot from you there, Ross. And yeah, it's been a great chat today, and I really look forward to our next episode. Thank you very much.
Thanks. See y'all.
Bye for now.
Yeah, see the vision clear. We're here to run the long game. Blueprint set, no fear. Playing out the long game, the long game.